What's up, y'all? Welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, hello and welcome. Today's video is going to be part 2 of my collection and declutter series. We are going to be going through all of my face palettes and my blushes, and we've got quite a few products to get through. Now, I do realize I have a large collection, and I'm okay with having a large collection. I know it's not for everybody, but this is a judgment-free zone, to each their own. But with that being said, I don't want to have a large collection for the sake of having a large collection. I want it to be full of things that I love, enjoy, and are going to be relevant on my channel. So this is not going to be a massive declutter, getting rid of half of my products or becoming a makeup minimalist or anything like that. I'm just trying to get rid of things that are old, expired, I'm not reaching for, and are not going to be relevant on my channel. Now, all of the products that I am going to be getting rid of will either go in the trash if they're old, disgusting, and expired, and then from there my friends and family will get first dibs, and whatever is left over, if anything, will go up for sale on my Mercari if it is lightly used and I can sanitize it. I will post that link about mid-January once I have everything gone through and actually can get it up on Mercari. So in the meantime, please do not ask for any of my used makeup down in the comment sections. It's uncomfortable, it's weird, and I'm just going to ignore your comment and move on with my life. But with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and jump into the declutter. Alright, so these are all of my face palettes right here, and we're just going to start going through these. Now, I don't get a whole lot of use out of a face palette, not because I don't like them, but my mind automatically goes to my singles when I think of a blush, a bronzer, or a highlighter to pull. So in the upcoming year, one of my goals is to get a lot more use out of my face palettes because I do really love the ones that I will end up keeping. I know there's some in here that I can probably get rid of, but we're just going to start diving into this. So we're going to start with this one right here. This is from Bella Beauty Bar. This is the Baked Blush Face and Cheek palette, and I'm not going to be swatching everything. If I do, we will be here for an absolute eternity, but this is a beautiful palette. It came out around this summertime, and the shades in here are beautiful. These two over here are not really good shades for me. This one's a little too dark. This one's more of a really good bronzer shade, but these four over here all really work for my skin tone. I do have to go in very lightly handed with this one right here, but this is a beautiful formula. There's not really anything groundbreaking about it or anything to write home, but it is really nice and I do enjoy it, so I'm going to hang on to that one. Let's go into Adept. So we have the Duality palette right here. This one came out fairly recently, and this is beautiful. I love these shades up here at the top. They're like shimmering highlighter, blush, topper type things. They're absolutely gorgeous. And then we have 3 matte blushes down here at the bottom. This one is sort of like an ombre effect, and I love this palette. This shade right here is so incredibly unique. It's like a really pretty cool tone mauvey shade. This isn't exactly the best for my skin tone, and neither is this one right here, but I can get enough use out of these 4 shades that it warrants me keeping it. So I am going to keep that one, just like I said. Also from Adept, we have this face palette. This one was in collaboration with Amy Loves Makeup, and this is beautiful. You have 2 matte blushes, 2 highlighters. This one is like a really pretty kind of pinky red shade, and then we have a really pretty cool tone pink. These highlighters are gorgeous. This one is a little bit more sparkly. It's not glittery, but it definitely has a little bit more of like a grit to it. And then this one is just a really pretty smooth highlighter. They both look beautiful on the skin, and I really enjoy that one as well. Let's go into this little stack right here since it's really tall. This is one that I don't use anymore, but I keep it for nostalgia and in hopes that one day they'll bring back some of these formulas. This is the Tarte Park Avenue Princess palette, and you can see I got a ton of use out of this one. I don't really use it anymore. I don't think it's really bad. I just don't reach for it, and you can't get these shades anymore. I don't know if any of these shades are the single bronzer that they still have, but I loved both of these for setting my under eyes and my face. This is my go-to bronzer shade, and these 3 over here I like to use in my crease and then just kind of build an eye look off of those. But this is beautiful. This was so good. The packaging is stunning, and I miss that palette so much. Kind of the same thing goes for this one. This is from Benefit. This is one of their blush bar palettes, and I really enjoy this one. I do reach into this every now and then. It has the Hoola bronzer in it, which is not my favorite. I've never tried the light one, but the formula itself I feel like is It was good for its time, but now we've got so many bronzers to choose from that it's an okay formula. But I love the blushes in here, and I miss these blushes from Benefit. I miss this Benefit, if I'm being completely honest. They were fun, they were exciting, and I really do love this palette. Mine actually still smells really good. It smells like coconut and sunscreen and very summery. So I am going to keep this one for nostalgia more than anything else. Let's go into this one right here. This one is from Unearthly Cosmetics. This is the Spring Magic Incandescent Blush Palette. This is stunning. Oh my gosh. These blushes, they're very, very buildable. They are very, they're shimmery, but they're not like an in-your-face shimmer. They're more of like a really pretty, like amped up satin shimmer. They just look beautiful on the skin. This one is almost too dark for me, but if I go in with like this one or this one, I can tone it down just enough that it really works for my skin tone. So I do really enjoy this formula, and I don't really have anything else like this in my collection. So we're going to keep that one. Let's go into Blend Bunny right here in the middle. So first up we have this one right here. This is from the collab that they did with Ellis Atlantis. Yes, Ellis Atlantis. This is the Lunar Eclipse Space Palette, and there was two of these. There was this one, and then there was Solar Eclipse, and that one was more orangey shades. This is beautiful, and I do really like it. These are wildly pigmented. Blend Bunny blushes generally are, but I feel like I have these shades from Blend Bunny, and if not, definitely from other brands. So I don't know if I need to keep this. I'm gonna set it aside for now and kind of come back to it in a little bit, because I do have the rest of these Blend Bunny palettes right here to go through. So let's do these really quick. So the first one is going to be the Bare Cheeks palette. This is gorgeous. This is like your muted everyday tones. I absolutely love this palette. It is extremely pigmented. A little bit goes a long way, and I do get use out of all the shades in here. Believe it or not, these oranges are muted and deep enough that they don't look too contrasty on my cool undertones, and these two over here mixed together are a beautiful bronzer for me. But if I'm looking at the pink blushes right there, like those are definitely very similar in color, those two right there, and even that one. So we've kind of already got two shades, so let's carry on, but I am going to keep this one. And then I also have the Juicy Cheeks palette as well, and this one is so bright, so fun. If I want a really colorful cheek, this is my go-to palette. It has a yellow and an orange. I don't typically reach for those colors very often because I am so cool undertoned, but this whole side of the palette I absolutely love. These purple blushes are beautiful, but again, they're very pigmented. And let's compare the blushes yet again. So yeah, I just don't think I need this little palette up here. I think I'm good with what I have, plus the pink blushes and other palettes. So I think I'm going to go ahead and declutter this one right here. I am so extremely happy for Ellis Atlantis that they got to collaborate with one of their favorite brands and do something, but this just isn't anything I'm going to get use out of. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it on for somebody else to love and get use out of. And lastly, from Blend Bunny, we have the Noctilucent Highlighter Palette. This is stunning. It is a palette full of duochrome and multichrome highlighters, and these are so glittery and shimmery and beautiful. They are very shifty. Definitely not for the faint of heart. I don't always reach into this palette, but this is a really good one if I want like an inner corner shade, or if I just want to add an extra little punch to my cheeks or my eyes or something like that. And I don't even think Blend Bunny has this palette anymore, but I am going to keep that one. All right, let's go into this little pile right here, which is going to be Lunar Beauty. So first we have from the Moonshroom collection. This is going to be a highlighter palette, and oh my gosh, is this absolutely beautiful. These highlighters are so smooth and creamy, and they are just wildly reflective on the skin. Definitely not for the faint of heart. This one right here is better suited for me as a blush topper, and this one over here I can get away with if I go in with a very light hand, but honestly I like it more on my eyes, my inner corner, and things like that. But this is a stunning formula, and I absolutely love it. I also have from the Full Fantasy collaboration, which Lunar Beauty did in collaboration with Laura Lee Los Angeles. I have this little face palette right here, and this is beautiful. I can once again use every single shade in here. This one is a really good bronzer for me. This one is beautiful. It looks very deep, but it's actually not quite as pigmented as you would think it's going to be. It shears out on the skin beautifully, and the two highlights over here are stunning as well. I feel like this formula in here is very similar to the one that we saw in the Moonshroom palette, so I'm gonna keep this one. I'm not doing very well in face palettes, am I? But that's okay. I'm not decluttering just to declutter. We're keeping what we love. All right, I also have the Moon Prism Blush Palette from Lunar Beauty, and I got this in a BoxyCharm. I had actually gone back and forth for a really long time whether I wanted the Moon Prism palette or if I wanted the Nude Prism palette, and they kind of made my decision for me. Now, these two over here are pretty deep, but this is a beautiful kind of mauvey plum blush on my cheeks. It does kind of sheer out really nicely. This one, even as a bronzer, is a little too dark for me, so I don't really reach into this one too much, but everything else is beautiful. And this one right here is a really pretty shimmering blush, not too over the top. It's very flattering on the skin, and I love, love, love this palette. I really want to get more use out of that one in particular. Okay, so this right here is from Beauty Bay. This is the Make Face Multi-Use Complexion Palette, and I got this because I had been really interested in all of these cream face palettes, but they were so expensive, and I wasn't really sure if it was anything that I would like. So when Beauty Bay released this one, I thought, oh, this is the perfect time to pick this up, and I do think it's going bad and kind of drying out. Some of the pans are coming up. This looks a little sus right here, but even aside from that, the formula in here is really nice, but I don't reach into it because it's not an all-in-one face palette for me personally. The shades in here are not my perfect shades. They're not my perfect tones. I like the blushes, the highlighters, and things like that, but this is like stark white. This is pretty. All of this over here I will never use. I will never use this up here. So it just kind of solidified whether or not I'm into these, and I am just not into these. Okay, so if you're wondering where this stack came from, I randomly remembered that I had some other face palettes in my new makeup still testing out drawer, so I went ahead and grabbed those real quick and pulled them in. But let's carry on over here. So I have this little one from Chanel. This is a duo, and I wasn't really sure where else to put it, so I just put it in here with my face palettes. This is so good. I think this was from the summer collection, and you have a blush and a highlighter in here, and this blush formula is so good. It's like a cream to powder formula. It's not the same as their new cream to powder formula they just came out, but it is very similar. And this highlighter right here is beautiful as well. I really do enjoy this, and this is kind of what sparked up me wanting to try more from Chanel. I picked this up, loved the formula, and it just kind of redeemed the brand, and everything blossomed from there. So I am going to keep that. This little one from Laura Geller, I got this one in my last BoxyCharm, and the formula in here was nice. I couldn't find it anywhere on the Laura Geller website, but this is all dried up. Like, you can't even get a brush in here. You can't get a sponge in here, anything. The highlighter is nice, but my other issue is this highlighter, if you use it, it's so powdery. It gets in these other two products over here. So I'm gonna trash this. Like, it's so disappointing and irritating, and that's exactly why I canceled my BoxyCharm. Okay, let's go this one right here. My Auric Mirage Shift Face Palette. I absolutely love and adore this thing. I have the shade Daybreak, and this is so beautiful. You can see all those dips in there. I've had this for a little over a month at this point, and I reach into this thing all the time. It's like a go-to for me if I just don't know what I want to do, if I'm just not in the mood to powder my face and things like that. I love, love, love this palette. It is so beautiful. But one thing that I do want to point out that's kind of irritating is if you look at the writing on the front of my palette, it's wearing off, and like I said, I've only had this a little over a month, so that's a little disappointing from a luxury brand and from a palette that is a little bit on the pricey side. These retail for like $88. I still adore the formulas on the inside, and I still love it, but we should do better than that. That's just unacceptable. But I am going to be keeping that. Let's go into these two from Chanel, or I'm not sorry, not from Chanel, from Natasha Denona. So I have two of her little face palettes right here. The first one that we have is the Berry Pop Cheek Trio. This came out around Valentine's Day, and this is incredibly beautiful. You get like this cream to powder blush right here, a cream blush that's kind of shimmery, and then you have this really pretty highlighter over here. I love the shades in here. I love the formula in here. This is absolutely beautiful. This right here is so beautiful. It looks very intimidating, but if you go in with a fluffy brush, it just goes on really nicely. And this highlighter over here is beautiful, and then this really pretty shimmery cream blush. I just love this palette. It's a good formula, and I really enjoy it. And then also I have the Natasha Denona Hyper Natural Face Palette. Now, I do like this. I do use it. It's not a favorite for me. I wish they had done more than one variation of this palette, because while this works for me, I'm very fair. So if you have anything deeper than me, this palette's not really going to work for you. These bronzers are not the perfect shades for me. I just kind of go in with a brush and swirl them all together. It is a little kind of, I don't want to say neutral, but I don't want to say yellowy. It honestly looks a little muddy if I don't go in with like the right ratio of these shades over here. These blushes are beautiful, but again, they're not going to work for everybody. And the shadows in here are beautiful as well. It looks like this one has a little bit of hard pan. No, it doesn't. It just kind of looks like that. I don't know what that is. These are beautiful, but they're all shimmer shades and like satin shades, but this is a really good travel palette. Everything in here pops out, so if you have other ones from Natasha Denona, you could kind of customize this, but I wish she had come out with more variation, and that would have made this so much better, but the formula is fantastic. From Smashbox, we have this one. This is the Halo Sculpt and Glow Face Palette, and I think I'm going to declutter this one as well. I did review this on my channel, and I haven't used it since. The blushes in here are nice. The highlighter is really pretty, but this bronzer over here is so lightly pigmented that I have a really hard time building up anything on my cheek, and I just don't reach for it. I'm not going to reach for it, especially over any of these other palettes over here. So I'm going to go ahead and pass this on to somebody who would maybe love it a little bit more, somebody who can maybe figure out that blush better and things like that. So that is going to go. This one right here, this is from Bobbi Brown. This was last year's holiday collection palette. This is the Luxe Cheek and Highlight palette. This is gorgeous. This is like a baked gelée formula, and I love this. This is like the perfect travel all-in-one palette. It is a little cumbersome. I do feel like we have a little bit of wasted space in here, but it's not so much that it really bothers me. The formulas are great. This highlighter is so reflective and beautiful. Like, look at that. Oh my gosh, that is stunning. And even this bronzer right here, if I go in light-handed, which is kind of a trend with bronzers for me since I am so fair, but we are getting into lighter ones, but we'll get to that in another video. But this does look really pretty on my skin, and that's a very me blush shade right there. So this is going to stay as well. And my Charlotte Tilbury one is going to stay also. This is the Glowgasm Face Palette. I have the lightest one, which is Lightgasm. I did not get this on the first go around. I got this when she relaunched it, and I really do like this palette. I think it's beautiful, but I wish this had been more of like a satin blush or maybe even a matte blush, because it is very like highlighter-esque. It's almost like a topper shade, but it's almost too shimmery and too basey to be a topper shade for me. But this is a beautiful palette. I do really enjoy it, and I have come to find out that with these baked gelée formulas, you have to go in with a natural bristle brush, or one that mimics natural bristles, because if you go in with a synthetic brush, it's really hard to pick up, and you're just going to get frustrated and feel like you wasted your money. So something to kind of keep in mind, but I do really like that palette, and I am going to keep it. I have these two palettes right here from Nars. So the first one is going to be the All That Glitters Light Reflecting Cheek Palette. This came out 2 holiday seasons ago, and I love this. I think the shades in here are so incredibly unique. This one up here is the most beautiful highlighter on me. It has like this really pretty like pinky lilac undertone to it. This is a beautiful blush on its own. It looks a little intimidating, but it does sheer out really nicely. And this is a really interesting kind of like cool tone bronzer on my skin. Again, a baked gelée formula, and it is beautiful. I'm going to be keeping that. And the other one that I have from Nars is going to be the Laguna Ultimate Face Palette. This is, I believe, the lightest one that they have. These came out closer to summer, and if I can get it open, the formula in here is incredible. I really do enjoy the bronzer, the highlighter, and all the eyeshadows in here. My only qualm with this palette is why two bronzers? They are so incredibly close in shade, and this would have been the ultimate Laguna palette if one of these had been a blush. I can use this as a blush. I did use it in my video when I reviewed this, but it's really hard to get a brush in there, so a little disappointing, but it is what it is. I like the formula and I will use it, so I am going to keep it. All right, let's move on to my Hourglass palettes right here, and then we'll pop into these over here. So I have 3 of the holiday palettes, and then I have this one right here. So let's start here because this one came out earlier this year, close to summer, and this palette is full of bronzers and finishing powders, and this is beautiful. I do really enjoy this, and I picked this up because the other palette that I have, which was the only one before this holiday season, the bronzer in there was too warm for me, and these work better for my skin. Plus, I love their finishing powders. I absolutely adore them. They are so incredibly beautiful on my skin, which reminds me of one that I'm missing that's sitting right here in my everyday drawer. So let me go ahead and pull that out really quick. Here it is. This is the Ambient Lighting Trio palette. This is the second one that I have ever owned, and look at that pan in there. I'm almost done with it. I don't think I would repurchase another one now that I have these other palettes, but I have loved this for so long, and I definitely want to finish out at least this middle shade. I just kind of swirl my brush in the whole thing, so it's kind of got like this weird dip going on, but this is so, so good, and I really recommend it if you just want a palette full of really good finishing powders that are going to give a little bit of like a light reflection to the skin. But I am going to keep that for now because I want to finish at least that middle shade. All right, so these are my holiday palettes that I have from Hourglass. So let's start with this one. This one is from Holiday 2023, and this is actually the Jellyfish Color Story in the owl packaging. I just wasn't a fan of the jellyfish, and I thought the owl was beautiful. Now, this is the bronzer that is a little too warm for me. I can use it, but it's not the most flattering in the world, but everything else in here I love. This highlighter is so beautiful. These blushes are beautiful, and I love the finishing powder. And then this year, the first one that I picked up was the Dragon palette, and this one has cool tones in it, and I was so drawn to that because none of the other ones, to my knowledge, have had cool tones in it, and I just love this one. You've got 2 blushes, a highlighter, 2 finishing powders, and a bronzer, and this bronzer is perfect for my skin. So obviously, we're going to keep that one. I think we're probably going to keep everything else that's left. And then I also went ahead and picked this one up later. This is the which one is this? This is the, I think the Evil Eye Color Story. Yes, the Evil Eye Color Story in the Lotus packaging. And the bronzer in here is a little too dark for me. I can get away with it, but I really picked this up because I wanted this highlighter and these 3 blushes in here. So I think these are absolutely beautiful. This is a very beautiful, like neutral everyday blush, but this highlighter is like the most beautiful, like rose gold highlighter, and I just couldn't resist. So love those. Going to be keeping all of those. And last for face palettes, we have these 2 right here. So the first one from Chanel is from this holiday collection. This is the Enchanted Night Eye and Cheek palette. This is so beautiful. I have not quite reviewed this on my channel yet. It's coming very, very soon. A speed reviews video should be up within the next couple of days, but this is a stunning, stunning palette. I have worn all of these on my eyes. I've worn this one as a blush, this one as a highlighter. I've even worn this and this as a blush. This one's my favorite as a blush, but they're not as pigmented as they look in the pan, but they're very buildable and they just look beautiful. And I've had several of you with different skin tones than mine, like a lot deeper, tell me that you love this palette as well. So this was a really good one from Chanel, and I'm so happy to have it. And then my newest face palette is this one right here. I literally just got this in the mail 2 days ago. I haven't used it yet. It's still in the box. But this is the Le Beige Healthy Glow Sun Kissed Powder in the shade Light Coral. And I have seen so many people talk really highly of this palette. A friend of mine here on YouTube has one and absolutely loves it. So I decided to splurge and pick it up. And this is what the palette looks like. So it's an all-in-one face palette. It's got your bronzer, your blush, and your highlighter, and I like that it's separated and these are wide enough that you can get a brush in there without picking up the shade next to it. I really appreciate that because there's so many other palettes with this kind of format that are very small and it's really hard to pick up just the one shade, but I'm excited to try this. I haven't even swatched it or done anything with it yet, but like I said, I'm excited. So let me go ahead and put this back in the box, get my totals, and then we will move on to blushes. Alright y'all, so I started with a grand total of 31 face palettes. I am decluttering these 4 right here, which is going to leave me with 27. So not the best declutter in the whole world, but I do really like these. I want to get some more use out of these, and I am really happy to get these 4 out of my collection and moved on to somebody who will love them. But let me go ahead and get this cleared out, put away, and we're going to jump into powder blushes. Alright y'all, so these are all of my powder blushes, and there's a lot sitting here in front of me. There's more than any person needs, but we're going to go through and just start pulling blushes. I am not going to swatch everything because if I do, we are going to be here for hours and hours on end and nobody wants to sit through that. So I'm just going to go ahead and start diving in, and we're going to start with this one right here from Kaleidos. This is the only one I have, and I believe this is in the shade Ecstasy. It's this really pretty kind of peachy pink shade. It looks absolutely beautiful on the skin. It's very unique in my collection. I don't have anything else like it, and I really do enjoy the formula, so I'm going to go ahead and keep that one. This one from Catrice, this is one of the Air Blush Matte blushes, and this was a really nice formula. I really enjoyed it. It's not anything special. It doesn't, you know, have anything that kind of stands out compared to any other blush, but it is a really solid matte blush formula from the drugstore that is extremely affordable, so I'm going to go ahead and keep that one. Let's go to this one right here from Persona. Actually, let's go to these 3 right here. So I'm going to start with this one instead. So this is the Dior Backstage Rosy Glow blush in the shade Pink. It's the viral cool tone pink that kind of started everything. I love this blush. I am one of the crazy people that absolutely loves this tiny little $40 blush, but I also have the original formula and I just think it's absolutely stunning on my skin, and you can't get this formula anymore. They did reformulate it, and from what I understand, it's not as good as it used to be. It's not nearly as pigmented. It doesn't have the same glow to it, so I'm definitely going to hang on to this one more so for me than anything else. But I do have these 2 right here that are very similar to this one. So this is Prairie Air from Colourpop, and I feel like this one is pretty freaking close as far as tone goes. It doesn't have that same satin finish to it, but on the skin it looks very, very similar to the one from Dior, and I really do enjoy it. It's super affordable. I think this is a really nice formula. But another one, if you want a more high-end blush, is the one from Persona. This is in the shade Bubble, and again, it's not going to have that pretty sheen to it, but this one, it just kind of is a little bit softer on the skin than the one from Colourpop. It does have a little bit more of a base pigment to it, but you can see all 3 of them are very close as far as the same shade goes. So if you're interested in the shade from Dior and you don't want to spend the 40 bucks on this one, these 2 are both really good alternatives. So I am going to keep all 3 of these blushes, if I can get you to stay put over there, and we're gonna move on. So let's just carry on with Colourpop. So I have this one right here. This is from the Beauty and the Beast collection. There was 2 shades that this came in, and the other one is a deeper, more bronzy shade, so I keep that one with my bronzers. And I do wish that the packaging had been different for each blush because the packaging is the same, and I wish they had done the different character or the coordinating character on the package. But this is the shade Mrs. Potts. It's a really pretty pink blush. It is very light. It's not very pigmented at all. I can build this up on my skin, so I'm going to keep it. I love Beauty and the Beast. The nostalgia is there, and I just don't want to get rid of it. Let's do this one right here from Nars. So this is one of their reformulated blushes. They reformulated everything earlier this year, took the talc out, and I picked up a matte blush and a shimmering blush. So I picked up Orgasm and Orgasm Edge. I have decluttered Orgasm because it was so gritty and awful, but I kept Orgasm Edge, and it's the same shade. It just doesn't have the sparkle to it. So absolutely beautiful. I really like this formula. It's nice and soft. It performs beautifully, and I'm going to hang on to that as well. So far we have gotten rid of absolutely nothing. Let's carry on. So this one right here from Milani, this is Luminoso. I'm not getting rid of this. It's absolutely beautiful. It's a cult classic, and we're gonna hang on to it. This one from Chanel. This formula is terrible. This is one of their baked blushes from their regular line. It's the, what's it called? Powder blush. I got the shade In Love, and I was really excited to try this. I had only ever tried one other product from Chanel, and this is awful. There's like no pigmentation to it. Like, it looks like it is on the finger, but then when you put it on the skin, it disappears, and you can sit and you can build and build and build, and it just keeps disappearing and disappearing. So I am going to hang on to this because I want to hang on to it for reference purposes. I do have other blushes from the brand that I really like the formula of. You saw one in the face palette portion of this. So I want to keep this, like I said, for comparison purposes. I do think that they've already reformulated these, but in case they decide to reformulate them again, I want to be able to compare it. So I am going to hang on to that. Plus, it was expensive. I had this one from Guerlain, and this is pretty, it's nice. I just don't think it's worth it. Like, it's an okay matte formula. It's definitely more pigmented than the one from Chanel, but it's still very light on the skin. You have to work really hard to build it up, and I'll use it. It's pretty, but it's not one that I would buy more shades of. Let's do this little guy from Gucci. This is the only Gucci blush that I have. This is in the shade Rosy Beige, and I love this blush as I dig my finger into it, but you can see I've used it quite a bit. The Gucci logo is almost gone, but this has a little bit of a sheen to it. The formula is just so blurring and sophisticated on the cheek. It looks beautiful. It's very easy to blend out. It's not overly pigmented, but it is definitely pigmented enough that you don't have to work super hard to build it up, but I really do enjoy that. So that is going to stay. Let's go to this one right here. So this one from Colourpop. I should have done this when I did the rest of the Colourpop blushes, but this is one of their pressed powder blushes in the shade Baby Cakes, and I've held on to this one because I thought the color was really unique, but I have colors like this now. I have several of them in my cheek palettes that you just saw, and I think I can finally go ahead and let go of this. It's a good formula, it's nice, but I hate the packaging. It's cumbersome, it's hard to get open, and I think it's time to just pass it on. So that is going to go. I have these two right here from Singe Beauty. These are the Evocative Silk Blushes. These are a really pretty sort of satin finish formula. So they're not a flat matte, but they're not a shimmer either. And these are so beautiful. I love this formula. There are 4 shades. I only picked up 2 of them, but I have Timid Tomato, which is this really pretty muted red right here. And then I have Persistent Persimmon, and I picked this one up because I was curious more than anything. I think the color is beautiful. It's not the best shade on me, but I can pull it off if I kind of mix it with other things. Like if I ombre these two shades together, they do look beautiful on my cheeks, but I love the formula, so I am going to hang on to these. I'm hoping she expands her range. She does have a really pretty pink one though that I want to pick up. Let's do this one right here from RMS. So this is one of the RMS Beauty Redimension Hydra Powder Blushes. I have the shade Crystal Slipper. This is such a stunning blush. It's a really pretty kind of like everyday neutral shade, but it has that little bit of shimmer to it, and it just looks beautiful on the cheeks. It's very easy to kind of blend out, build up, and it adds a beautiful sheen to the cheek. I really do enjoy that blush. There's actually not a whole lot of blush formulas in here that I don't like, but it's the standouts to me that make the biggest difference. Let's go to these two right here from Rare Beauty. So these are the Rare Beauty Powder Blushes, and these were like the most anticipated launch of the year, but I think these are also like the biggest flop of the year in my opinion. They do look very pretty. The colors are beautiful. I have the shade Cheer, which is this one right here. It's supposed to be like Selena's custom shade. And then I also picked up the shade Love because I thought it would be a really pretty like fall winter shade. This is way too dark on me and it doesn't sheer out very easily. It doesn't blend out very easily because it's so pigmented. So I am going to get rid of this one. I'm going to declutter it and pass that one along. But I am going to keep this one right here because one, I can get away with it. It is a pretty blush topper, but I also want to keep it for reference. I'm hoping that maybe she'll come out with some satin blushes or matte blushes in the future because these are just so insanely shimmery. Like they're just a little over the top. It's just almost like she took it one step too far. If she had dialed it back maybe a notch or two, these would be beautiful. And they're not a favorite, but I am going to hang on to one for reference because Rare Beauty is a very popular brand. Let's do these three right here from NYX. So these are the NYX Buttermelt Blushes. I picked up 3 of them and this is a beautiful formula. So this is the shade Getting Butta. And then I also picked up the shade You Know Butta. And then the last one that I have is going to be Butta Together. And these are beautiful. They are very pigmented, but they're also a little bit more buildable if you go in with a light hand. This one I bought thinking it was going to be like a dupe for Nars Orgasm or Milani Luminoso. It is a little bit more deeply based than those two, but it kind of gives you the same vibe. But beautiful formula, super affordable, pigmented. I really enjoy these, so I'm going to keep all 3 of them. Let's do MAC really quick. So I have 2 from MAC. So the first one that I have is going to be one of their mineralized blushes. This is in the shade Warm Soul. And again, it's a very neutral blush. It's a baked blush. I love a baked blush. And this just looks beautiful on the skin. I really do like the shade. I would love to get more of these because I think this is my favorite formula out of all the MAC blushes. And with that being said, I'm going to declutter this one. This is just their matte blush in the shade Desert Rose. This one hard pans on me a lot. It is a really pretty shade. I do like the way that it looks once I get rid of the hard pan, but I have this whole collection. It's not really relevant and it's just not worth scraping off the hard pan over and over and over to get it to work for me. So I'm going to go ahead and declutter that one. Let's do some Fenty Beauty really quick. So I have 2 right here. So the first one that I have is going to be the Hot Cheeks Velour Blush Lighter. This is in the shade Fresh Peach. These were limited edition. It came in 3 different shades and I wish I had picked up the other 2 because this is beautiful. This is a glowy shimmery blush done right. It's not over the top. It's not too much. It just looks so beautiful on the skin. They sheer out really nicely and I love the way that it looks on my cheeks, and it kind of does, you know, it gets rid of 2 birds with 1 stone. It gives you a beautiful blush color with a little bit of shimmer. So I am going to keep that. And then I'm also going to keep this one as well. This is her newest blush formula. This is the Suede Powder Cheek Blush. I have the shade Drama Class. This is stunning. It is like the perfect purple tone for me because it has a little bit of a pinky base to it, and when I put it on my skin with my cool undertone, it just looks so pretty. It doesn't look bruisey. It just looks nice and glowy. It looks very cool toned and I really like this one. This is a fantastic formula. I was disappointed with the shade range and the inconsistency as far as formulas go, but I do really enjoy this one, so I am going to keep it. I don't have a lot of purple blushes in my collection, so I will probably keep a lot of the ones that I do have. Let's do these 2 from Essence. So I have the Essence Pure Nude Baked Blush, and I picked this up because 1, I love a baked blush, and 2, so many people were ranting and raving about this formula and how incredible it was. I have the shade Rosy Rosewood, by the way. And this is a beautiful formula, like not just for the price point, but in general. Like it is up there with Kosas and M Cosmetics and MAC and Milani and all of those. This is a really nice formula. I really do enjoy it, and I 100% recommend it if you want a good baked blush that's not going to break the bank. But this one right here, this is the Got a Crush on Apricots blush. This was very limited edition, and I didn't realize it when I picked it up. It's cute in the pan, but there's like no pigmentation to it. It is so incredibly light that it doesn't even show up on my skin. So I'm gonna go ahead and declutter this. It's cute, it's pretty, I like the idea behind it. It's the Pantone color of 2024, but I'm never going to use it, and I'm not gonna hang on to it just to hang on to it. I don't mind having discontinued and limited edition makeup if I'm going to use it. Let's scooch this in just a little bit so stuff doesn't start falling off. And let's go into these two right here from Natasha Denona. So I have the Natasha Denona Bloom Highlighting Blush in the shade Mini Bloom. This is beautiful. It looks super intimidating in the pan, but it blends out so beautifully. It has a gorgeous glow to it, and I really enjoy this one in the summertime. Don't tell me you're starting to hard pan on me. No, there it goes. It's very buildable in pigmentation, which I don't mind a buildable blush. I actually prefer a buildable blush over a super pigmented one, just because I like to have more control over the amount of blush that I have on my skin. But I don't want that one. I don't want one that is so lightly pigmented that I can't build it up. But I'm going to keep this. It's beautiful. That was a really roundabout way to come to that conclusion. And then I also have the My Mini Dream Glow Blush. This is such a cute little palette. I love the two little blush shades in here, and then you have a highlighter over here. And what I really appreciate this palette is that she put the highlighter on the side instead of in the middle, so you can 100% go in, get you a matte blush, or you can glow up your blush, or you can do blush and highlighter. If she had done it in the middle, it would have been harder to do that, and I really do enjoy that. I think that was really smart on her point, so I am going to keep that as well. This little guy right here from Color Rose, it survived my last declutter. This is a Singe Beauty brand. This is a really pretty blush, but I just don't reach for it. It's an orange blush. I'm not a huge fan of an orange blush. I do have several of them, but it also has this blue up here, and truthfully, I don't understand the point of the blue. It doesn't really do anything, so I'm gonna go ahead and declutter this. I was keeping it because I wanted to hang on to a Singe Beauty blush. I liked the packaging, but I do have the eyeshadow palette. It has the same packaging. I have other Singe Beauty blushes, so I'll be okay with getting rid of that one. Let's do this one right here from Sigma. So this is one of their matte blushes in the shade Corta Rosa, and I am just not a fan of this. This one has been living in my everyday makeup drawer for the past month or so, and I have reached for it a couple of times, and every time I do, I don't like the way that it applies. I don't know what it is, but it just goes on patchy. It doesn't blend out very easily. It's very pigmented, almost too pigmented, and I'm just not a fan of it. I have tried so hard to love Sigma because people really talk up the brand, and it's just not for me, and that's okay. They do have some things I really love, like their brushes and their loose powder, but the other products, I'm just not overly impressed with them, especially for the price point. So I am going to declutter this. I'm sure somebody else would love to have that. All right, let's grab this little guy right here from Melt. This is one of their powder blushes in the shade Honey Thief, and this is beautiful. Again, it's a very neutral, everyday wearable blush. These are the kind of shades I like to go to if I just don't know what I'm going to do with my eye makeup and I just need to have something on my face to give me a little life. This is what I go for. I like my blush to coordinate with my eye makeup, and you can't really go wrong with a neutral blush. So I am going to keep this one. It's absolutely beautiful. I do really enjoy it. This one right here, this is from the brand Miss Fame, and it's the Blush Series Palette 1. This is really nice. You have a cream blush and a powder blush over here that has a little bit of a shimmer to it. This performs well. It looks beautiful on the skin, but I'm not going to reach for it because it's not really relevant for anything. And again, if you look at all the blushes that I have, I'm more likely to reach for those over this, and I have these shades in other blush formulas that I love. So I am going to pass this one on. It is really nice. If I didn't have a huge collection and I got this in my BoxyCharm, I would be really excited. I would use it a lot, but I'm just not going to, not when I have a collection like this. This one from Hourglass, I think I can get rid of this one too. I have plenty of Hourglass blushes, as you just saw, and this one is really pretty. It's a little mini in the shade Luminous Flush, and I just don't need it. Honestly, if I'm going to go for an Hourglass blush, I like the ones that I have in my palettes better than this one, so I'm gonna go ahead and pass that one on. It's a beautiful formula, I just don't need it. I have plenty of them in my collection. Let's do these little guys from Cosmetics because they're big, they're bulky, and they're in the way. So I have 4 of their Heaven's Glow blushes. Beautiful formula. It's a baked formula. I absolutely love these. I hate the packaging. It's bulky, it's cumbersome, but it's also very luxurious at the same time. But the first one that I have is going to be Venetian Rose. It's a beautiful rose tone baked blush, my kind of shade. Absolutely love it. And then right here I have the shade Baroque, and this is a beautiful kind of bronzer type shade. It's very light, it's very neutral, but it's one of those that just kind of, again, 2 birds, 1 stone. It looks beautiful on the skin. It has this really pretty glow to it, and I really like the tone of this one. It's very unique in my collection as well, so I'm going to keep that one. I'm going to keep all 4 of these, by the way, spoiler alert. And then these other 2 right here in the pink packaging, I'm just scooching this over so it's not hanging off my table. But these 2 right here in the pink packaging were limited edition summer releases. I don't know if they're still available, but the first one I have is the shade Elysium. It's this really pretty peach blush right here. Same formula, very glowy, baked blush, absolutely beautiful. And the other one I have is going to be the shade Seraph, and it's a really pretty bright pink. It's not like a cool tone pink, and it's not quite a hot pink. It's just a really pretty pink blush. Like, there's nothing more to it other than it's a pink blush. So I'm going to keep that as well. Let's come back here to this one from DIBS since we're talking about baked blushes. This is the Blush Duet, the Duet Baked Blush Duo in the shade VIP Pink. VIP Pink, wow. I cannot talk anymore. I've been talking for way too long. But this is beautiful. It is a split pan. I'm just now realizing it is not evenly split, but I love both of the shades in here. They look beautiful on their own. They look beautiful swirled together. The purple in here has just enough of a cool undertone that I can get away with it on my skin without it looking bruisey. So I'm going to keep this as well. I really, really love this formula. I'm just not a big fan of the color selection that they chose for these duos. They're nice, they're just not all up my alley. 2 more baked blushes that we're going to talk about, and I think that's all of the baked blushes. I could be wrong, but I think it is. So I have these 2 from Kosas. This is the Blush is Life baked blushes, and I have the shades Euphoria and Hype. Beautiful formula. Very, very beautiful. Very soft, very beautiful. Has a nice glow to it. I really enjoy these. I think they look absolutely beautiful, and I'm going to keep both of these. So that is going to be the shade Euphoria, and then this one is the shade Hype. It's a really pretty bright pink. You can tell I definitely have a type when it comes to my blushes. Okay, these 2 right here from Too Faced, these are the Cloud Crush blurring blushes. I have 2 shades. This is a beautiful formula. I absolutely love it. There are so many formulas in here that I really do truly love, and I could own all of them, but that would be overkill and ridiculous, and I don't need them all. But I do have 2 shades in this one. I have the shade Velvet Crush, which is absolutely gorgeous, very everyday, neutral, wearable, a little bit of that pinky undertone to it. And the other one is going to be Watermelon Rain. This is a beautiful hot pink blush, very pigmented. A little bit goes a long way, especially if you're fair like I am, but it does look beautiful on the skin. I do really enjoy those. Let's see, let's kind of pull some of this around so we can see better what we have going on, and I can scooch this over just a little bit more. Okay. Let's go these 2 right here from Clinique. These are the Cheek Pop blushes. I have 2 shades right here, and I'm kind of on the fence about these. This is the shade Pansy Pop, and then we have Black Honey Pop. This is such a good formula. I have loved these for such a long time. I don't reach for them as often as I used to, but this was like my first purple blush right here. And again, it has that really pretty kind of pinky undertone to it that it looks beautiful on my skin. So a part of me is like, maybe I should get rid of them. But then the other part of me swatches them out and is like, no, keep them. They're absolutely beautiful. It's like a baked gelée formula and they're beautiful. I just don't know what else to say other than that. So I think I'm going to put these in the maybe for now, and we'll revisit them in a little bit because I don't know. I want to make sure that I have my full thoughts before I declutter anything, and if I'm hesitating, I want to kind of sit on it for just a minute. But this one right here from Burt's Bees, I do think I can get rid of this one. It is very old at this point. I've had it for a very long time. I bought it because Kathleen Lights rants and raves about this formula. I think she had the shade Toasted and I had the shade Bare Peach because Toasted just was not my shade. I don't have the same complexion as her, but I think this has had its moment. I don't really reach for it as much anymore. I don't even know if Burt's Bees is still making makeup anymore. I know they still have the chapstick, but I think I'm gonna go ahead and declutter this. Like, I feel fine about it. I haven't reached for it. I have other blushes this shade in my collection that are going to be more relevant and that I just enjoy more. It's a good formula. There's nothing wrong with it, but I don't need it. So I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of that. This one from e.l.f. This is one of their primer infused blushes. I have the shade Always Rosy. It's not very rosy. It's very neutral. It almost has like a brownie undertone to it, but this is a fantastic formula as well. If you're looking for just a solid matte blush that's not going to break the bank and it's not going to disappoint, it's going to be a workhorse blush, this is a beautiful formula. It comes in lots of shades and it is super affordable. So I am going to keep that one. Where do we want to go from there? Let's go to this one right here from ZC. So this is another Singe Beauty brand. This is from their Palace Identity collection. And this is the Blossom Blush in the shade Hibiscus. This is beautiful. I got this in an ice cream beauty box and it did have like little gold appliques kind of oversprayed on there. It went away, but this is beautiful. You swirl your brush in there and you just get the most beautiful kind of peachy blush. I would swatch it out, but it's going to come out very orange because of the center and it's hard to get that with your finger, but beautiful. I love it. The packaging, absolutely stunning. Let's see here. Let's do this one right here from Give. So this is one of the Feelin' Cheeky Amplifying Blush Duos. I have the shade Stars Aligned and I loved this for the longest time when I first got it. I had a smaller collection. I didn't have a lot of blushes this shade and I really do enjoy this one. I don't know what's going on with Give. I'm so curious because every time I get on Sephora, they're always like way discounted, like half price. She hasn't released new products in a long time unless you count the little eyeshadow quads that she basically revamped and kind of did some split pans and brought in shimmers and things like that. But otherwise, I haven't seen her release anything. So I don't know what's going on with the brand, but I definitely want to hang on to this for now because I do really like the formula. The packaging could have been scaled down or the pans could have been bigger. There's a lot of dead space in here, but it is a beautiful formula, beautiful blush. I do really enjoy it, so I'm going to keep that. I am running out of room over here because I'm just kind of stacking stuff in here. I'm not putting it in nicely, so I might kind of start stacking stuff like over here, but it is what it is. Alright, so I went ahead and rearranged just a little bit so we could see everything better. Let's go into this one right here from Patrick Ta. So this is one of his monochrome moment blushes. This is the shade She's Seductive. He doesn't make these anymore, but this was just a singular powder blush. I love this shade. I love this formula. I wish that he never got rid of these because it breaks my heart that he did, because there was another shade that I have that I absolutely loved and I shattered it, and when I went to replace it, that's when I found out he didn't make these anymore, and it makes me sad, but I am going to hang on to this one because I do absolutely love it. These two right here from Pat McGrath, I got these last holiday season. She came out with these two in a mini form and I had always wanted to try the formula, and so I was so happy to see that I could get a smaller one that was going to be more affordable. So I have the shade Paradise Venus and Divine Rose, and this is a gorgeous formula. Oh my gosh, that color is so incredibly beautiful. But Divine Rose, y'all, if I could only have one blush in my collection, this would be the blush. This is my perfect blush shade right here. This is it. This is the shade for me, and it just, oh, look at that. I love that shade. I don't know what it is about it. It's not super exciting. It's not anything super creative or inventive or anything like that. But I could wear this shade every single day and just be happy. Happy as a clam. But I'm going to go ahead and keep these. That's kind of what I was getting to with that. Let's go back here a little bit because we've got some back here. So this one from Beauty. This is the Satin Matte Blush. She released these earlier this year. This is in the shade Skinny Dip. This is just a really good blush. Like, it's not anything groundbreaking, innovative, or anything like that, but it's just a really pretty satin blush. It looks beautiful on the skin. It's a little bit blurring. It's pigmented, easy to blend out, and I really enjoy this. I think she did a fantastic job with this formula, and again, I'd love to pick up more, but I don't need any more blushes. Okay, these two right here from Armani. This is such a beautiful formula. It is a luxury brand, but it's a little bit more on the affordable side as far as luxury beauty goes when you compare it to like Tom Ford, Chantecaille, Chanel, and things like that. But I have two shades. So I have the shade 51, which is this really pretty like matte pinky blush. It has a little bit of a rosy undertone to it. And then the one in the shade 50 is going to be a shimmering blush, and these are beautiful on their own. They're beautiful mixed together. This one is actually very close to Nars Orgasm. It's just prettier, more elevated, more sophisticated, and I really, really, really enjoy this. Let's go right here. I'm running out of room. I'm gonna have to wash my hands off, but I am going to keep both of these. This one back here from Buxom, I love this blush. This is the second one I've ever had. This is their Wanderlust Primer Infused Blush in the shade Seychelles, and it's just a really pretty neutral blush. It's a fail-proof blush. It looks beautiful on the skin, but I don't know if I need it. Like, nobody talks about Buxom. Buxom doesn't really release a whole lot unless it's in the shade Dolly, I feel like, or some kind of iteration of Dolly, and I just don't know if I still need this in my collection. Like, it's had its time, it's done me good, but I think I'm gonna put this one in the maybe pile. Yeah, that's where that one's gonna go for now. So we've got a maybe over there. All right, from Dolce & Gabbana, I have one of their Cheeks and Eyes Match Lasting Blush and Eyeshadow Powders. This is in the shade Joyful Peach. This is a beautiful matte blush. It's absolutely stunning. It is very blurring on the skin. Again, it's a luxury house brand, but it's more on the affordable side. I think this was $45 or $50. So again, when you're comparing it to Tom Ford and things like that, this is much more affordable. Granted, it's not going to be like a $2 blush from Essence, but it is really pretty. The component is gorgeous. It's hefty. It's beautiful. And if you want just a little slice of luxury without completely breaking the bank, of course, everybody's budget is their own business. This is beautiful, and I do really enjoy it. I would love to have more of that one as well. I have this one right here from Tom Ford, and this was from their Love collection, I believe, earlier this year around Valentine's Day. This is in the shade Love Scene. It's a powder blush. I did not pay full price for this. I do not pay full price for any of my Tom Ford. I usually get it when it's kind of like on sale, or I've gotten several of them secondhand but not used, like still new in package and things like that. But this is a beautiful formula. It's just a solid matte formula. It is very, very pretty. I love the way that it applies. I love the shade. I think it looks beautiful on my skin, and it's going nowhere. Like, look at that. Hello, pigmentation. Really love that one. Let's see here. Should we do Odin's Eye really quick? I think we're going to wait for Odin's Eye. We're going to do those last because they're big and they take up a lot of room. So let's clear out some of these smaller ones. Let's go into this one right here from Benefit. This is one of their box blushes in the shade Peachin'. There's another shade that I would like more than this one. I think it's called Willa, but they didn't have a mini and I really didn't want to get a full size. So I have this one right here. This is very pretty. I do really like this peachy shade. It looks beautiful on my skin. It's a little bit more neutral leaning, so I can pull it off a little easier, but I'm going to keep this just because it's a solid blush. It's been around forever. I'm not the biggest fan that they reformulated and got rid of some of their older shades, but it is what it is. We're going to hold on to it. This little guy right here from NYX, I think I can declutter this. This is from their Beetlejuice collection that they had for Halloween this year, and this is a really cute little blush palette. but I can't use every shade in here. So this one down here is too dark for me. This one is too orange for me. This one works for me, but I have other purple blushes in my collection. In fact, I'm staring at one right here. And I'm just not going to reach into this for the one blush when I know that there's somebody else that would love and enjoy this. The formula is really nice. It's super cute. I love how slim and travel friendly it is, but I just don't need it. I love the theming of it, but we're going to go ahead and get rid of it. All right, I have 3 right here from Haus Labs. So I have one of their original Color Fuse blushes, and then I have 2 of their newer ones when they brought it back, changed the packaging, scaled them down, and brought us a couple new shades. So the first one that I have is the big one right here, and this is in the shade Lavender Blonde. Hello, you can tell why I have it. I love this shade. I don't know why they didn't bring this one back. It is so incredibly beautiful. It's like the perfect pinky purple shade. It is so incredibly flattering for a cool undertone, and I love this blush. I will not get rid of it. Like, it's going nowhere. So I am going to keep this one, but then I have 2 of their other new ones, and I really wanted to see if the formula was the same. Plus, this was a shade that I wanted and never got my hands on, but this is the shade Watermelon Bliss, and it's a beautiful red blush, but it has just enough pink in it to make it more of a watermelon shade. Beautiful, very flattering, very pigmented, but blends out easily, and I really enjoy this one in the summer. And then this one is the shade French Rosette, and this is one of the 2 new shades that she brought out. Beautiful, neutral, wearable, everyday. It has a little bit of warmth to it, but it's not too warm where it comes off super orange. So that's gonna stay as well. Let me find somewhere for you to go. All right, so we are down to this little bit right here, and I have these 2 from Polite Society, and these are 2 more that I'm kind of debating whether or not I want to keep. These are like a cream to powder. These honestly should be in with my cream blush drawer. I don't know why they're up here, but we're here, so let's talk about them. But I like the idea of this because it is more powdery than creamy when it goes on the skin, but they're so, I don't know what the word is. They're so, I don't want to say stiff or dry because they do go on really nice and they look really nice on the skin. But if you swipe this on your cheek, it's going to lift everything underneath it. Whether you go in over a powdered base or an unpowdered base, it's just too, I don't know what the word is that I'm looking for. It's just, it's not flexible enough, it's not emollient enough to do it. The packaging is a little bulky, it's cute, but that's all the product that you get in here. Like, that is twisted all the way up. I don't know if there's anything down in there, but it's a cute formula. I like the idea of it. I wouldn't purchase more, and I don't know if I need to keep these. This is in the shade Los Angeles, and the other one, hello, oh, they twist on. The other one that I picked up is the shade Sydney, and it's a really pretty neutral shade. I think I'm going to put these in the maybe pile for now, and we will revisit these in just a minute. This one right here from Glamlight, this is from the Betty Boop collection. This is the blush duo, and this is really pretty. It's a solid blush formula. Again, nothing to write home about, but it's not a bad formula. It works really nicely. It's pigmented, but it's not too pigmented, and I have heard that some of their blushes are like over the top, and I didn't find this one to be so I am going to hang on to this. I think it's absolutely adorable. I like the shades in here, and it's the only blush that I have from Glamlight, believe it or not. So that is going to stay. I'm trying to keep this separated. So this is what we have left. This is all staying. These are maybes, and then I have Declutters up over here. Okay, this one from One Size. I got this in a BoxyCharm, and I'm glad that I did because it kind of got it out of my system. I had been wanting to try this for such a long time, and I couldn't decide on a shade, so they kind of picked for me. This is in the shade Attention Seeker. It's that cool tone pink that's so super popular, and it's got a cream blush, a powder blush, and then a blush topper down here. The cream formula is nice. The powder formula is nice. Both of these are super, super, super pigmented. But this down here, this is so incredibly glittery and just chunky, and it's just not flattering on the cheek. I don't like the way that it lays on me, so I don't ever reach for this. I want to hang on to this, I feel like, for reference, because it's very popular. It's a popular brand. It's a popular shade, and I want to be able to reference this in videos if I need to. If I find myself not reaching for it for anything over the next year, then I probably will get rid of it, because while these shades are pretty, they're too pigmented for my fair skin, and I have come to find out that one size just is not the brand for me. It is definitely for oily skin and deeper skin tones, which is 100% fine. I'm okay with that. Lord knows there is a ton of products out there that cater to lighter skin and don't go deep enough. So I love that he definitely caters for deeper skin, but it's just not a brand for me. But I'm going to hang on to it for now. Let's do Odin's Eye real quick before we get into these little palettes down here. So I have 4 from Odin's Eye, and let me see. So this one in Sunset Clouds is from the first collection that they did, and so is the shade Warm Sun. I love this formula. It is so beautiful. You can see mine is broken over here, but she still works. She's still usable. This is the first orange blush that I ever got, and it is really pretty. I do like it. I can wear it. It wears really well on my skin, actually, if I have the right look going on. If I do like a kind of monochromatic orange look, it looks beautiful, but I do really enjoy this formula. But then from their new collection, maybe not their newest, I think they've done more since this one, but I have the shade Pink Bloom, and it's very similar to this one right here, but you can see it's just a little bit deeper. It has a little bit more of like that mauvey base to it. There is another one, Lavender something, that I wish I had gotten instead because it's brighter and it's more pink, but I'm still going to hang on to it. But then I have this one right here that I opted for instead of the other one. This is the shade Solar Eclipse, and this is so incredibly glittery and chunky. It had an overspray over it that was even more glittery. I got through that, but it's still too much for me. Like, let me show you what I'm talking about. It reminds me of the one from One Size, except it's not as chunky, but look at how glittery that is. That is not a blush for me. There is no universe in which I can use that as a blush topper, a highlighter, or anything. It would look beautiful on the eyes, but I'm not gonna reach into this for my eyes. I don't need it for my eyes. I can pass this on to somebody else. And that's exactly what I'm going to do, because I am not going to reach for this, and there's no point in holding on to it when I have 3 others that I have that I love and enjoy and can use for reference. So that is going to go, and these 3 are going to stay. And we are down to the very end of my powder blushes. We still have creams and liquids to get through, but I have these 2 little palettes right here. So this one is from Adept. They no longer make this, and it makes me so sad because this formula is incredible. This is in Valentina. These blushes, y'all, they are so incredibly gorgeous. I have to swatch these out to show you because I just love this palette so much. They look very shimmery, but they blend out beautifully. They pick up with a brush so softly, and all of them look like they're gonna be the same tone when you kind of look at them straight on, but then when the light hits them certain ways, they just have this beautiful reflect and this beautiful kind of shift to them. I say shift, but it's very soft, and these just look incredible on the skin. I wish Adept would bring these back. The 3 in the, I can't think of the palette, but the palette that they have that has the 3 shimmering and the 3 mattes, those shimmering ones are very similar to this formula right here, and I just love this. So it's going absolutely nowhere. I don't care if you can't get it anymore. I'm hopeful that they're gonna bring it back. And the last one I have are these 3 blushes from Lethal Cosmetics. You buy these as a single, and then you can buy your palette of choice, or you can buy a single one, whatever you want to do, and pop them in there. This is a beautiful glowy blush formula. It's probably my favorite glowy blush formula on the market. This is like a true purple blush, but it looks so beautiful on my skin. This one, very pigmented, very intimidating looking, but if you go in with a light hand, it fluffs out beautifully and it looks beautiful on the skin. I love it. And then the pink shade right there. I love these. These are going nowhere. I highly, highly, highly recommend this formula if you're looking for a solid glowy blush. These are really good from Lethal, and they do have other shades as well, but these are the 3 shades that I picked out. So we need to revisit these little guys over here. So this is my little maybe pile right here, and I'm looking at it, and I think I'm gonna keep all of them because I'm hesitating. I don't want to get rid of it and then regret it and wish I still had it, because I've done that before and I've ended up repurchasing things and I'm like, this is stupid. I shouldn't be doing this. I never should have gotten rid of it in the first place. So I'm going to hold on to these, see if I get some usage out of them over the next 6 months to a year. And we will revisit these when I do my mid-year kind of one over declutter in about June or July. So these are going to stay as well. So let me go ahead and get up all my totals, and then we can move on to creams and liquids. All right, y'all, so I started with a grand total of 72 blushes. I am decluttering 11 right here, and that's going to leave me with 61. So not a huge declutter, but I didn't expect it to be. I didn't go into this with that mindset, and I'm happy with what I kept. These are formulas that I know, I love, I reach for, and ones that are relevant on my channel. And I'm happy to be moving these out and passing them on to a new home where they're going to get the love and attention that they deserve. But I'm gonna go ahead and put all of this away, clear it out, and move in my creams and liquids. All right, y'all, so liquids and cream blushes. There is a lot sitting here in front of me. This is way too much, and we're just gonna start jumping into this. So I'm just gonna start grabbing stuff off the pile yet again. I'm not going to swatch everything, but we will swatch some things. So let's go ahead and start with these 2 right here from Pat McGrath. These are the Divine Blush Legendary Glow Color Balms. It's really hard to read. So I have the shade Floratique, which is this really pretty kind of berry shade right here. And then the other one that I have is going to be, what are you called? You are Sun-Kissed Seduction, and I really like this formula. I know a lot of people didn't. It's very balmy, but it looks beautiful on the skin. It's not super sticky. It doesn't dry down to a matte or anything. It leaves a really pretty kind of satin finish to the skin. It doesn't dry down completely, but it dries down enough. So I am 100% going to be keeping these because I do really enjoy this formula. Next, we have this one right here from Iconic London. This is the Blurring Blush Stick. This is in the shade Daiquiri. This is a beautiful formula. I think they came out with 3 or 4 shades in this one. And this one is definitely more on like that putty side. It's a little more stiff in the container, but very easy to kind of manipulate, move around. I don't suggest swiping this over powder or even over an unpowdered face because it will move everything around, but it picks up beautifully off the back of the hand. It even picks up beautifully off of here. And it just, I think it would be a beautiful option for oily skin as well, because it's not super balmy, it's not very creamy, it's a little bit more on the stiff side. I do wish that it kind of twisted down a little bit more, because as you can see, my cap gets a little bit dirty, but beautiful formula. Absolutely love that one. From Armani, I have one of the Luminous Silk Cheek Tints. This is in the shade 53. This is a beautiful, beautiful formula. It is lightly pigmented, very buildable. It blends out beautifully. It works well both over and under powdered face. And I just really like it. I do wish I had gotten a different shade though, because this one is extremely light. And I feel like I have to really kind of work to build this one up. But I like the color, I like the formula, and I am going to be keeping that one. This one from Lunar Beauty, this is the Moon Prism Liquid Blush. I have the shade Rose Rienia, and this is a really pretty formula. I do like it. It's a little bit on the thicker side, but it blends out really nicely. It is a little finicky when you go in over a powdered face, but it's not impossible to work with. I definitely suggest putting this on the back of your hand and picking it up from there if you're going to go in over powder, because if you dot it on your face, it dries really quickly and it can kind of patch and grab and do funky things. But very pretty formula other than that. I do really enjoy that one. This one from Victoria Beckham Beauty. This is one of the Cheeky Posh blush sticks in the shade Fame. This is such a beautiful formula. It's balmy, but it's not too balmy. It's just balmy enough that you have the ease of kind of manipulating it and blending it into the skin. Again, I don't suggest swiping it on the face. I really don't suggest that with any liquid blushes, just because you really risk kind of moving things around when you swipe it on the face, but warming it up on the back of your hand and picking it up from there is going to be your best option. But this is a really beautiful formula and I enjoy that one. I have my Charlotte Tilbury Matte Beauty Blush Wand. This is in the shade Pillow Talk, duh, and this is beautiful. I do really enjoy this. I'm not the biggest fan of the poofy kind of thing, but I do like the shade. I really like the formula, and this is one of those formulas that I would repurchase aside from the fact that it's in the poof, because I do really enjoy it that much, and you can see I've gotten a lot of use out of it. It was a little puffed up, but beautiful formula, beautiful shade. Really enjoy that one. Whoops, if I can do it without breaking it. Let's go to this one right here from Chantecaille. This is the Cheek Gelée. I have the shade Vibrant. This is beautiful. This is a really pretty gel formula and it just looks stunning on the skin. Here I am swatching everything out after I said I wasn't going to, but that's what that looks like. It just blends out beautifully and it's more sheer than you think it's going to be when you do blend it out. And I do like the shades that this comes in, but this one was my favorite, so that's why I got that one. Let's do this one right here from Rare Beauty. So this is the Melting Blush. This is in the shade Nearly Neutral, and I'm gonna keep this because, as you can see, I have pan and I want to see if I can use this up a little bit more. This is very sheer, very buildable, complete polar opposite from her liquid blushes and even her powder blushes. But I really like this formula. Personally, this is my favorite blush formula from her so far, and I want to get more use out of this, so I am going to keep that one. This one from Chanel, I have not given my formal review on this one yet, but this is one of their cream to powder blushes. This is such a stunning formula. This is very polar opposite compared to the other one that we talked about. It's pigmented, it blends out beautifully. I really enjoy the formula. There's another shade that I really want. It's kind of deeper and has like a more of a berry base to it, so I may eventually pick that one up, but this is beautiful and it is going to stay. Okay, let's go to another one that I haven't used yet. So this one is from the Wicked Widow Tales of Terror collection, A Haunting, and this is their cream blush. It's in this really pretty purple shade. I have swatched it, but I haven't used it yet, and I'm intimidated by it, but I'm also interested in it because I can't decide if it's going to sheer out really well, but we'll see what it does. I'm going to hang on to it because I haven't even used it yet. Let's go back here to these two from Maybelline. Things are going to start rolling as soon as I move things, but these are the Sun Kisser blushes, and I have two shades right here. So I have the shades Soul Search, which is going to be this one, and this one is Blazing Blush, and these were okay. These are very lightly pigmented. They're not as basey as I want them to be. They are very glowy, they're very toppery, and I just wasn't a big fan of this. I got the pink one first and it almost doesn't show up on my skin, so I thought, well, maybe I'll get one a little bit deeper and see what that does. And it's just as sheer as this one over here. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of both of these. I don't feel like I have a need to hang on to one of them. I haven't reached for this at all, and I just have other liquid formulas sitting here in front of me that I love so much more. So I am going to get rid of these. So I need to find a declutter place. I'm going to put these back here. But a good liquid blush from the drugstore is going to be this one from L'Oreal. This is the Lumi Liquid Blush. This is a stunning formula. It is very user-friendly. It sheers out beautifully. It's pigmented, but it's not overly pigmented. It works well both over and under powder products. And this is in the shade Dewy Worth It, and I just really enjoy this one, so I'm going to hang on to that one. Let's grab these two from Colourpop since this is kind of sitting right here on top. This is an okay formula. It's not a favorite of mine. I need to quit getting two shades of a product that I've never tried before, because then I end up with two shades of something that I don't really enjoy, and it's just wasteful is exactly what it is. But I have the shades Culver City and Angel Face, and This is pretty, but it's very finicky when you go in over powder, so I don't reach for these that often. I do want to hang on to them because I enjoy Colourpop, and this isn't a bad formula, it's just not a favorite. If I'm comparing it to other ones here, this isn't the first one that I would recommend, but it is nice. But I think I'm going to go ahead and get rid of Culver City just because it's too dark for me. It's very bronzer-esque on my skin, and I just don't reach for it. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this one, but I'm going to keep the pink one because this one is really pretty. All right, this little guy right here from Cosmetics, this is one of their Color Drops Serum Blush. I have the shade Rose Milk, and I want to hang on to this a little bit longer because I really want to put this in my everyday drawer and use it because I think the formula is beautiful. My preferences are changing, and I'm really enjoying more of a serum-like blush versus a thicker, more creamier blush. So I am going to hang on to this one for now. While we're talking about serum blushes, let's chat about these right here from Hourglass because I absolutely love this formula. I have multiple shades. I did get the darker ones. They do have lighter ones than this, but I wanted something different from the other colors that I normally gravitate towards, and I love all of these. I think this one right here is my absolute favorite. It's the shade Craft. This is the only one that I'm going to swatch out for y'all, but this is a dropper style. I'm not the biggest fan of it. You have to make sure that you shake it up really, really, really well. Otherwise it will come out very watery, but you just push the bottom of it and your little drop comes out just like that. And that's what it looks like. It shears out so beautifully. This dark one is probably the most pigmented, but that little drop will do both of my cheeks and then some. It just shears out really nicely. It dries down to a really pretty kind of satin finish, and I just really love this formula. I think Hourglass did something special with this. But the other shades that I have are going to be Imagine, which is a really pretty kind of bricky red shade. I have the shade Future, which is a really pretty corally blush, and then I have the shade Vision, which is like a rose shade, and I am going to keep all of those. All right, another favorite blush formula of mine is going to be these from Glaminatrix. Glaminatrix is an Australian indie brand, and they launched these cheek and lip tints earlier this year. This is a stunning, stunning formula. I do have a short or a reel swatching all of these out and trying them on if you wanted to see all of them, but this is such a beautiful formula. I really, really enjoy it. It's very easy to work with. It's not too pigmented. They blend out beautifully, and they're just very flattering on the cheek. They did a gorgeous job with this. I'm gonna go ahead and swatch out my favorite one. You can tell it's my favorite, but this is the shade Gentle, and it's just so pretty. It's a little bit on the thinner side. It's not quite as thick as the one from Colourpop, but it's also not as serum-y as the one from Hourglass. It's just a beautiful formula, and these are really comfortable on the lips as well. They're not my favorite thing to wear on the lips, but they are comfortable, and I do want to note I have all of the shades, so you can just kind of look those up in your own time. And this one right here from Just Zemenia, this is the 3-in-1 stick. I got this in a BoxyCharm, and this is a really nice formula. It's in the shade I'm Delicious, but I'm going to go ahead and declutter this because I'm not going to reach for this over these other products. It's not going to be relevant on my channel. I can't always find it when I try to link it and things like that. So I'm going to go ahead and pass this on. This is one of those products that if I didn't do YouTube, I didn't have a large collection and I got this, I would absolutely love it and use the crap out of it, but I'm going to go ahead and pass that one on. This one right here from Haus Labs, this is the, what is this called? The Color Fuse Glassy Blush Balm. I have the shade Glassy Hibiscus. This formula is stunning. It is so emollient. It just smooths out beautifully on the skin. It doesn't stay tacky, but it has a nice finish to it, and I really, really enjoy this one. I would definitely pick up more shades in this one. There's one that has kind of a purpley undertone to it that I'm really interested in, and I was gonna pick it up during the Sephora sale, but it was sold out per usual. Story of my life. But let's go ahead and move on to these right here from Rare Beauty. Let me back some of this up so it doesn't fall off or anything, but I have 3 of the liquid blushes from Rare Beauty, and I do really like this formula. It's not a favorite for me. I feel like it's almost too pigmented for my taste, but I do like them. I will get use out of them. Personally, I like the minis more than the full size. Like, who in their right mind is going to go through this unless this is the only blush in your collection and you use it every single day. But for me, realistically, this is the way to go. But I have the shade Happy, which is this really pretty pink color. I have Virtue and I have Wisdom, and I am going to keep all three of those. From Unearthly, I have one of their liquid blushes. This is in the shade Nirvana. This is their only liquid blush that they have to date. I have heard rumors in the corridors that she is either working on more shades in this formula or she is doing shades in a different formula, but she is going to have more liquid blushes. That could be wrong. That's just what I've heard. So don't take my word for it. Don't run around saying Sarah said, but this is a really pretty formula and I love the shade of this. It's very unique in my collection, and this is more of a whipped formula. It kind of reminds me of the Kaleidos Cloud Paints or even the ABH Velvet Lips. It just has that sort of formula to it. It does dry down very quickly, so you have to work quick. So I suggest working in small sections. Like, don't even try and do one whole cheek at a time. But it's very pretty and I do want to hang on to it because I enjoy it and I want to have it for reference if and when she does come out with more. This right here from Drunk Elephant, this is the what's this called? Blues Rosy Drops. I picked this up in a little set. It came with this and it came with the De-Bronzy drops, and I picked them up because I thought it would be a good reference point to have in my collection. I was curious about them. I have not used either single one of them, and I think I picked them up in the spring sale from Sephora, so I'm just going to go ahead and declutter it. I'm just going to call it a loss and pass it on to somebody else. I haven't reached for it at this point. I'm not going to reach for it, so we're going to go ahead and get rid of that. This one right here from Milani, this is the Cheek Kiss Blush Stick in the shade Luminoso, and it's not the same shade as the blush or the powder formula, but it is really, really pretty. Again, this is a little bit on that more kind of putty side, right up there with the one from Iconic London. So it works really well. It blends out really well, but again, I wouldn't swipe it on your cheek. I would either pick it up off of the actual stick itself or warm it up on the back of your hand, but it does blend out really nicely. I like the pretty glow that it has, and it's a really pretty color. So I am going to keep that one. Let's move some of this stuff over because we are getting dangerously close to the edge and I don't want to have anything go over. All right, let's chat about these right here. So these are the Rhode Pocket Blushes. I have every single one of them. I do have a video on my channel swatching and trying on every single one of them, so I'm not going to swatch all of them, but I love this formula. I know some people don't, some people do. It's all a personal preference thing. I really love them, but I have, like I said, every single shade. So this one is going to be Freckle. And then we have the shade Sleepy Girl, which is one of my favorites, probably my most used out of all of these. I have the shade Spicy Marg, this really pretty orange shade, absolutely gorgeous in the summer. I have Juice Box, Hot Pink, gorgeous, we love her. We have Toasted Teddy, which is the deepest one. This is actually a really pretty bronzer shade. I can use it as a blush. I just have to go in very lightly handed. And then the last one that we have is going to be Piggy. Really pretty pink shade. Love these. These are going absolutely nowhere. So we are going to hang on to all of these. I need to rearrange. Give me just a second. Okay, so I have these three over here from Cosmic Beauty, and these are their cream blush formulas. Now, these do come in the Sinister Mystery Box, so I'm pretty sure by now everybody knows what products come in the Sinister Mystery Box, but if you don't know and you haven't seen them and you don't want to see them, you want to keep it a secret, then look away for just a second because I am going to open these up and show them off because these are beautiful. So I have not fully reviewed these on my channel yet. The formula is fantastic and obviously I'm going to be keeping these. There are a couple of them in the holiday collection as well, and that is on the way to me. So I'm excited to have even more from this collection. Hello, why won't you open? There we go. And that is the last shade that is in the Sinister Mystery Box. But I am keeping all three of them. You can look if you close your eyes or whatever. You can go ahead and look now. But I am going to be keeping those as well. All right, let's talk Colourpop for just a second. So I have these two from the Pokemon collection, and then I have this one from the Stranger Things collection, and these are all beautiful formulas. I will say the one from the Stranger Things collection is a little bit more balmy, but this is beautiful. It's one of those black color changing blushes. For me, it turns a little bit more on the purple berry side, but I love it. I think it's absolutely beautiful. It is a little bit more emollient than these two over here, but I have the shade Metronome, which is this really pretty pink shade, and these, the little top layer does kind of dry out a little bit, so you just kind of have to warm it up with your finger. But do you see just on my finger right there how this one looks a little bit more glowy and balmy, and this one looks a little bit more satiny? Both beautiful formulas, but both very different formulas. So if you tried this one and didn't like it, you might like this formula. I haven't tried their ones from their regular line yet. I definitely want to. I haven't had time, and as you can see, I am all backed up on blushes. But this is the other one. This one is Electro Ball, and this one is a really, really pretty red shade. Love that one as well. None of these are as intimidating on the skin as they look on my fingers. They all blend out absolutely beautifully, but I am going to be keeping all three of those. I am also going to be keeping this one right here. This is from Girl Cult. This is a C Beauty brand. I have not tried this yet, but it is a cream to powder blush, and this is the shade right here. That embossing is absolutely stunning. So obviously I'm going to be hanging on to this one since I haven't even used it yet. Keep those over there. All right, kind of keep this stuff separated just a little bit. Let's go into these two right here from Yensa. So this is their Silk Cream Blush. I picked up the shades Ginger Blaze and Radiant Rose. This is a beautiful formula. I don't really have many bad formulas in here. They're just kind of different. I like them for different reasons, but this one is really nice. It's very creamy. It looks beautiful on the skin. I don't have any issues blending it out. This formula kind of reminds me of a hybrid between Makeup by Mario and Danessa Myricks. It's definitely more along the lines of, I would say, the Pokemon blushes from Colourpop. So a little bit more on that satiny side versus that really balmy side, but I do really enjoy the formula. I think it's absolutely beautiful. Again, did I learn my lesson with ordering more than one shade of a formula that I've never tried? No, because I did it, but luckily I do really enjoy these. These two from Danessa Myricks. So we have the original Yummy Skin Blurring Balm Blush. This is in the shade Rosé and Brunch. This is a beautiful formula, fantastic for all skin types. It's not super creamy, but it's not super stiff either. And I do really enjoy this, but I only have the one because this is extremely pigmented and the other shades are all too dark for me. But I do really, really enjoy this formula. And then I have the, what's it called? The Lowlighter. This is in the shade Unbothered, and I used to keep this with my highlighters, but then I realized this is a beautiful shimmering blush. Like, I'm kind of sleeping on that. It looks absolutely beautiful on the skin. There's definitely some other shades that I would love to pick up from the Lowlighter line that I do think would look beautiful on my skin because they are a little bit less pigmented. They have a lighter base to them, and they are just lighter and brighter and more sheer on the skin. So I kind of think that this is my way to go if I want to have more from Danessa Myricks. Look at that flip. Oh my gosh, you can see that pink pearl essence in there. Oh, so beautiful. This one right here, this is from Tom Ford. This was from, I don't even know what collection, but it's a cream blush. This shade is so stunning. I love the shade. It is in Cafe Blush. It's a cream blush, and look at that shade. So beautiful. It's neutral, but it has this really pretty kind of mauvey undertone to it. It almost reminds me of like hot chocolate when it's in a powdered form. If you know, you know, and I really like that. So yes, I'm going to keep it. It wasn't going anywhere anyway, but I had to show it off. All right, these little guys right here from Rose Inc. So I love this formula. I had one, and then I picked up two more when they went on major discount at Sephora. I don't know what's going on with the brand. I think the original owner, which was a model named Rose something or other, I don't know, I'm so sorry, but I think she sold it to somebody else. So I don't know what's going on, but anyways, I digress. I have three of these. I love this formula. So the first one that I have is going to be Camellia. Ew. Okay, I think that's gone bad. This is the first one I've got. I have used the crud out of it, and yeah, that's not supposed to be like that. It's gotten thick. It has a funky smell to it, so I'm gonna go ahead and declutter this, but this is a beautiful formula, and I do really like this shade. Like, look at that shade. So beautiful. Yeah, it's not supposed to be thick like that, but really pretty. I'm going to declutter this one. In fact, it's going to go in the trash, but for now, we're just going to set it to the side. But the other two I'm going to keep because these are still very new. These are only a few months old at this point, but I have the shade Heliotrope, which is this really pretty kind of neutral shade right here. Very pretty, neutral, everyday wearable, has a little bit of a rosy undertone to it. And the other one is going to be Foxglove, and this is a beautiful, like, burnt orange terracotta shade. Perfect for this time of year, and I just love that shade so much. So again, going to keep that one. These three from Makeup by Mario. So these are the Soft Pop Plumping Blush Veils, and I have three of them. So I have one from his original launch, and then I have two from his newer launch, and this is the first one that I picked up in the shade Perfect Pink. I will say some of these are more pigmented than others, but they definitely sheer out really nicely. They look beautiful on the skin. The formula is more of a balmy formula, and I do really enjoy these, but this was the first one that I ever got. And then when he came out with his shade expansion and had some bright, fun colors, I picked up two of them because I was in the mood for a bright, fun, colorful blush for summer, and I do really love these. So the first one that we have is going to be Paradise Pink. It's this really pretty flamingo pink shade, absolutely gorgeous, hot pink, very pigmented, light hand if you're fair skin. In fact, I like to go in to these with a damp sponge just because it dilutes it just a little bit and gives me a softer blend on the cheek. But then the other one that I have is going to be Strawberry Sunset. This is so beautiful. It truly is like a strawberry red. It has just that little bit of like orangey undertone to it that just doesn't make it a true fire red, but it's also not quite orange either. It's a really pretty shade. So I am going to keep all three of those. I love that formula. From MAC, I have one of the Glow Play Cushiony Blushes. This is in the shade Grand. Gorgeous, neutral, little bit peachy, but not too much. I really like this formula as well. It looks beautiful on the skin, and I think this is part of their reformulated one. I don't know if they reformulated them or just relaunched them and added more shades, but either way, I picked it up very recently, and I do really enjoy that. These two from Patrick Ta. So I like these. I do. I think it's a beautiful formula. I picked up two when he did his shade expansion at the beginning of the year. I didn't have any before that, but I picked up the shades Not Too Much, which is this really pretty neutral one. And then I picked up the shade Just Enough, which is the really pretty viral pink shade. I love that there's a flap over the cream. Both formulas are absolutely beautiful, but I'm very weary about Patrick Ta because so many people are finding mold in their eyeshadows, their blushes, things like that. And his stuff is way too expensive to be getting mold after about a year. Like, I understand products expire and I can deal with that. I can deal with products drying out. I can deal with them kind of, you know, going bad and smelling. But mold is a whole other issue because mold spreads, and if you don't catch it, it can spread to other things and it can cause a lot of problems. So I don't purchase a whole lot from Patrick Ta, and I probably won't for that very reason. I will use these, I will keep these because they're beautiful, but I will also keep a very close eye on these. So that's my little Patrick Ta rant. I hope you enjoyed that. Moving on, we have from Lawless. This is the Pinch My Cheeks Soft Blur Cream Blush. I have the shade Starburst. This is a beautiful formula. It is very kind of putty-like. It's perfect for more oily skin, but it also works really well on kind of normal dry leaning skin. If you have super dry skin, this may not be the perfect formula for you because it's very creamy, but it has a very powdery finish to it. So I don't know if it would cling or anything like that. I do have dry leaning skin, but I don't have super dry skin, but I think it's probably going to be creamy enough, but just something to kind of swatch out or swatch in store and kind of see what you think of the formula. But I think it's absolutely beautiful, and I really do enjoy this one. I have intended several times to pick up more shades, and per usual, never got around to it. All right, so we're down to this little grouping right here. And let's start out with these two from Huda Beauty. So these are her liquid blushes that she came out with. These are the blush filters. So I have the shade Peach Sorbet and Watermelon Pop. And this is a really pretty formula, but it's one that you do not want to dab directly on the cheek because it dries very quickly. And if you don't move fast enough, you will see the little dots left behind on your cheek. So I recommend putting it on either a palette, the back of your hand or something, and picking it up from there. I also like these better when they're applied with a sponge. So not my favorite formula, but I do really enjoy it now that I have figured it out. And to me, if you have to figure it out, that means a lot of people probably aren't going to like it very much because a lot of people aren't going to have the patience to figure it out. But these are nice. I'm going to hang on to them, especially for reference, because I'm really, really curious to see what Huda is doing with her brand. This one right here from ABH, this is the Blurring Blush Serum. I did not like this. It doesn't dry down super fast, but it doesn't move around very easily. It is very finicky and it's not super serumy. It's a little bit more on the stiff side. It's not as stiff as the one from Chantecaille or anything like that, but it just, I don't know, it does not spread around on the skin easily, whether it's over powder, under powder, whatever. So I just don't use it for that very reason. I don't think it's going to be relevant, so I am going to declutter that. I have these two right here from Juvia's Place, and these are pretty, but these are intensely pigmented. Like, these are right up there with Rare Beauty, with e.l.f, which we'll get to in just a minute. This is a really good affordable alternative to Rare Beauty, even though I believe that Rare Beauty is more on the affordable side, especially for a brand from Sephora. But if you want something even more affordable, these are really nice. This is the matte version. I have the shade Coral Rose, and then I also have one of the shimmering ones as well in the shade Soft Tulip Glow. If I'm being honest, I am not a big fan of the shimmering one, but this one is too dark for me. I really like this formula, but this is so intensely pigmented that even the tiniest little bit is too much for my skin. So I think I'm going to go ahead and declutter this one. And I think I'm going to hang on to this one for now because I saw, who was it use this one? I think it was maybe Angelica Nyqvist, and it looked beautiful. So it really got me intrigued, and I was like, ooh, I already have that. So I'm going to hang on to this for now and get a little bit more use out of it. It may go in my mid-year declutter, but for now, I'm going to hang on to that one. All right, y'all, we are getting there. We're almost done. So let's pop into this one right here from Westman Atelier. This is one of the Baby Cheeks blush sticks. I have the shade Petal. I have not formally reviewed this yet on my channel, but this is a beautiful formula. I do really enjoy it, and I love that they have come out with minis of these blushes because this is not a cheap brand. It is a luxury brand. This is very expensive, but you can get a little mini one. You get a good amount of product in it, and it's fairly priced for a luxury brand. So I do really enjoy this. I think it's a beautiful formula, and I am 100% going to hang on to that one. And then I also have this one right here that I haven't put in a speed reviews either. This one is from Moonslice Beauty. Y'all, this came in the October Ice Cream Beauty box, and it's December, so well overdue. But this is a really pretty blush formula. I was very impressed with it. I love the shade of it. I think it's absolutely beautiful. It's a really pretty pink, but it's got a little bit of like a cool purple undertone to it, and I really enjoy that one. This one from Say, this one from Say, this is their Dew Blush. I have the shade Cutie. This is probably one of my favorite liquid blush formulas next to the one from Hourglass and Glaminatrix. It's just really pretty. It's got a little bit more of like a gel-like texture to it. It blends out really, really nicely, and it just looks beautiful on the skin. It's pigmented, but it's not so pigmented that it's hard to blend out or hard to work with. This is the kind of pigmentation that I want from the rest of these liquid blushes like e.l.f, Juvia's Place, and Rare Beauty, because it's just user friendly and it's fail proof. So I am going to keep that one. I have this one from Give. Again, not sure what's going on with the brand, but this is a Dewy Plump Collagen Cheek Tint. And this is supposed to have collagen infusion in it. It's supposed to like make your cheeks look plumper over time and beautiful and youthful. And I think if this is the only formula that you have in your collection and you use it every single day, there may be some truth to that. But if you're going to use this every once in a while or every few days or whatever, it's not going to do anything. And that's kind of my big thing about skincare being in makeup, is that if you're not wearing it 24/7 and that same product over and over, you're not going to get the full benefits for it. I guess it's better to have something good for your skin in a makeup product than nothing, but I could really care less if it has skincare in it. I could take it or leave it. But this is a beautiful formula. I do really like it. This is in the shade Bouquet, and it's this really pretty kind of corally pink shade. I don't know how to really describe it. It has a little bit more warmth to it than the one from Moonslice right here, but really nice formula. I enjoy that one. All right, so I have 3 of the e.l.f. Camo Liquid Blushes. These came out earlier this year, and again, they're to dupe the ones from Rare Beauty. And I just have to say really quick, the reason Drugstore has kind of fallen off for me lately is because I am so sick and tired of trying to dupe somebody else, trying to dupe Charlotte Tilbury, trying to dupe Rare Beauty. Like, can we have an original thought? I know that sounds harsh, but I want something more original and innovative and exciting from the Drugstore, and I understand what they're trying to do, and apparently e.l.f. is making a killing doing it, but I wish that they would just be a little bit more creative and kind of think outside the box on their own. But anyways, let's move on. I'm going to get off my soapbox, but I have 3 shades right here. So I have the shade Dusty Rose, which is a really pretty dusty rose shade. It has a little bit more of a brown base to it than you would think it does. The other one that I have is going to be Suave Mauve. And again, a little bit more of a brown base to it, but still very, very pretty. Both of these are very neutral. And then the last one that I have is going to be this one right here. This is in the shade Coming In Hot Pink. This is so intensely pigmented that just like the one from Juvia's Place, I cannot wear this on my skin. Like, that does not blend out, sheer out, or do anything for me. So I'm going to get rid of this one because the color doesn't work for me, not because I don't like the formula, but it's just too intensely pigmented. Like, I don't know. I wish they were just lighter pigmented, but I am going to keep these. I do really like this formula. Both of these shades work for me, so those are going to stay. All right, these 2 from Glossier, these are the Cloud Paints. I have the shade Dusk and I have the shade Storm. Beautiful formula, very buildable in pigmentation. They sheer out really nicely. These are definitely more affordable when it comes to high-end brands. I do really enjoy Glossier. It's not a favorite brand for me, but I do really like it, and I like this formula. I like these shades, so I am going to keep those. This one from Flower Beauty, this is the Ultra Light Liquid Blush. This was a nice formula. I actually liked this one. I didn't like the bronzer, as we have discussed, but this one was really nice. But if I'm being honest, I'm not a fan of the poof, and I'm not going to reach for this over other liquid blushes in my collection because yes, the formula is nice, but it's not that nice. So I'm going to declutter this one and pass it on to somebody else. This one from Freck, this is the Cheek Slime in the shade Rose Buddy. This is their reformulated formula. This is really nice. It is very thick. It is intensely pigmented, like that little bitty bit right there will do a whole cheek and maybe half of another one. Like, that's how intensely pigmented it is. I do want to hang on to it because I like the formula, but again, I just wish they weren't as pigmented as they are. I get it, it's gonna work well for more skin tones, but at the same time, we could make it more buildable versus being so pigmented that I have to go in with like half of a dot to make it work, but I'm gonna hang on to it. These 2 from Finding Ferdinand. So these are cream blushes, and I didn't really know anything from this brand. I picked these up because these are a collaboration with Khaki Reviews, and I was watching her video on these and I was so intrigued by the nuance of these colors and the thought process behind these. So there was, I think, 2 or 3 shades in this collection. She did come out with a second one that sold out really, really quick, but in each shade wheelhouse, there was 3 depths to that shade. So depending on your skin tone, depend on which one you would pick up, or you can mix and match, get all 3, whatever you want to do. But I did get the lightest ones of 2 of the shades. So the first one that I got was Pomelo, and it's this really pretty, like bright peachy pink shade, absolutely gorgeous. And the other one that I got is Latte, and this is such a beautiful, like neutral blush shade. It is just very sophisticated looking. I love the way that it looks on my cheeks. It just adds that little flush of color without going overboard. If I don't want anything bright on my cheeks, but I don't want to have nothing on my cheeks, if that makes sense. But I am going to be keeping both of those. This one from Kylie Cosmetics, this is her powder blush stick in the shade Meet Me There. It's another cream to powder formula, but this is a really good formula. I like this one more than I like the one from Polite Society. I just think it's more user-friendly. It's got a little bit more emollients to it, but it still has kind of that powdery finish when it dries down. It blends out beautifully. I really like the shade. She did a really good job with this release. I don't usually buy stuff from Kylie Cosmetics, but I was intrigued about this one, so I picked it up and I'm glad that I did. All right, from Kaja, I have 2 of the Dewy Blush Bars. I have the shade Strawberry Sorbet and Grapefruit Gelato. This is a really pretty formula. It is very balmy, it is very emollient, and it does not dry down 100%, but it dries down enough that your hair is not going to stick to it or anything like that. But if you have super oily skin, this may not be the perfect product for you, but me personally, I really enjoy this one. I think it's beautiful. I like to wear this on days that I'm kind of going for more like that no makeup look, because these do sheer out absolutely beautifully. But we're going to hang on to those, and we are going to hang on to these 3 from Phytosurgeons as well. These are their cream blush formula, and these are probably the most unique shades that I have in my collection. So the first one that I have is going to be Fume, and this one is so interesting. Like, look at that shade. It's like a gray purple, and it looks beautiful. It can look bruisey if I go in too heavy-handed and I'm not careful and I don't have something else to balance out the tone on my skin. But I do really love this formula. I'm not a big fan of potted blushes because they can be a little hard to get into, but the formula is well worth it. Condensate. This one is another, like I said, very unique shade. It almost looks gray next to this one right here. And again, it's just one of those shades that if I wear it right, it looks beautiful on my skin. And it's just so extremely unique. I really like it. I can't get rid of it. And the last one that I have is going to be Kindle, and this one is a really pretty kind of brownie neutral shade. It looks absolutely beautiful on the skin. It has just enough warmth to it that it doesn't look like mud on your face, but they do have a beautiful formula. They have really unique shades. They have really beautiful single eyeshadows as well that y'all will see in another video very soon, but I am going to keep all 3 of these as well. So let me go ahead and get all my numbers together so I can give you all my totals, and then we will close out this video. Alright y'all, so we started with a grand total of 86 cream and liquid blushes. I am decluttering 10, which is going to leave me with 76, and that's still a lot of blushes. A lot of these are multiple shades and multiple formulas, as you saw, and these are formulas that I love, I enjoy, I reach for, and are going to be relevant on my channel once again. But that is going to complete this collection and declutter video. I hope y'all enjoyed it. Give it a big thumbs up if you did. Make sure you're subscribed to my channel because I post quite a few videos every single week, and I wouldn't want you to miss one. But until my next video, have a good one. Bye.